This is a meeting of the Leominster School Committee. It is Monday, October 16th. It's a special night here at the Skyview Middle School. Would you all stand and join me in a salute to the flag, which is located on my right, and a little one on the left, so you can't be wrong tonight. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a brief recess so we could acknowledge all of the teachers on their professional teachers' status.
So moved.
And a second? We are now in recess. Superintendent.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I welcome everyone to Professional Teacher Status Celebration this evening. This is always a very important event for us during the course of the school year. It's a difficult evening for me tonight, as this will be my last Professional Teacher Status Celebration that I'll be participating in as Superintendent of Schools here in Leominster. The individuals who are receiving recognition this evening have served for 3 years and are entitled to professional teacher status as provided by Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 41 and 42. Each of you have worked very, very hard to enter the teaching profession, provide high-quality instructional services to our students, and to meet this important threshold of ultimately reaching professional teacher status. I thank you for your service and your dedication towards being a public schools educator. I'd like to thank the Human Resource Area, the principals, and Skyview Middle School for their hospitality and for the work that they have done in preparing for this event this evening. So my best to you as we move forward as you move forward in your teaching profession. We're going to call each of you up by school. When the school is called, if the principal or assistant principal who is representing the school can come up. As the teacher names are called, we'll present them with their award and continue through the process.
So you may take photos.
Sergio, if you can come up and help us out with announcing.
Yes, and the school committee will line up out front.
Before we start, Jen Kai, for the President of the Union, is part of the program. So, if you want to come up, please.
So I was told I had 7 minutes. I don't really need 7 minutes. So, colleagues, there must be a sigh of relief tonight. So we're going to call this the apple ceremony because that's how we affectionately call it. I thank you for the years you've put in. Some of you, it's been longer than 3. I appreciate the years you've put in. I appreciate that you chose Leominster. I appreciate that you continue to choose Leominster. Welcome to the family, and enjoy your apples.
Thank you. So we're going to start with Bennett School. The principal of Bennett School, please. Right here. Perfect. So the person awarded the PTA status for tonight is Christine Maleni. Congratulations. Yeah, let's move down the line a little. Thank you. The next school is going to be Fallbrook Elementary School. Paula Deacon. Now, we have some pictures here. Fallbrook sent us too many pictures. There were some personal pictures we didn't want to put in here, but thanks. All right, so the teachers that are getting the PTA status is Kathleen Olera. I'm sorry, I apologize. Sydney Dalton. I apologize. Kathleen DeRosier. Thank you. Thank you. Next school is Francis Drake. Tim, click one more time, please. Perfect. There you go. So, Catherine Olera. Brittany O'Brien. Dawn Lambert. Sarah Phillips. Now, Johnny Appleseed School. Meg Curran, please. All right, so we have Mary Kate Nunez. Catherine Ruggles. Congratulations. Thank you. Next school is Northwest School, Steve Mamoni. Thank you. Lindsay Irons. Julie Pavao. Jillian Santucci. Samoset School. Nelson Oliver. Thank you. Nicole Chapdelaine. Renee Lafayette. Nicholas Faden. Nicole LeBlanc. Skyview Middle School. Yes, absolutely. It just came out of your office. Okay, thanks. All right, Rita de Oliveira. That's right. Thomas Patty. He's not upset. Griffin Smith. Kira Foley. and Megan Roy. That's an awesome picture right there. CTEI, Dave Yandeka. Dave is coming? Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, David. Is Joseph here? Is Joe here? No. So just one? Oh boy. So just James. All right. I'm sorry. James Cormier. Leominster High School. Chris Lord. Last but not least is Elijah Hughes. Thank you. All right, so let me just say a few words. As an HR director, it has been very tough to be able to, in just few weeks ago, I have to give you a letter of no assurance. Very painful. I imagine the experience with your families and everything that you went through during those difficult times. We tried very hard to fight for every position we could. And I'm very happy, very excited that you made it to the PTA status. I hope that never happens again in our city. I hope for your case, it won't happen again. So congratulations, and thank you for making a difference every day with our kids. Appreciate it.
Because there's a note on the chocolate chip cookies over there that says that they have to be eaten by 7:30, we're going to continue to be in recess so that you can partake in those special treats. Congratulations to all and your families as well for their support. You by Mr. Blake. Thank you. Sure. At this time, we'd like to open up the public forum session of the meeting. First speaker is Bonnie Budd. Your name and address for the record, please. Yes. Sure. You can slide that over, Bonnie, if you want. Kind of. Yeah. Followed by Carrie Noseworthy.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Budd at 321 Prospect Street. I'm here to contradict that all is okay with education here in Leominster. We are in the midst of a crisis and a tsunami is coming. What is the school committee's plan to assist the special education office to properly fund positions needed to give all students of all abilities access to equal education, especially in the case of our most vulnerable students in special education classrooms? You have a moral and legal obligation to uphold IEPs, 504s, and ELL plans. It's state law. What is your plan to fund the positions to support 23.4% of the district receiving special education services? I hope you're not going to repeat last year's lack of funding and sit there saying no to the funds while children struggle to learn, with lack of teacher supports like paras and tutors. I also hope you're not going to allow overcrowding again in our substantially separate classrooms that broke state law. Please do not use the excuse that Chapter 70 formula is broken, because DESE won't accept that when you have to explain why we're in violation. Let's not waste valuable taxpayer money. The number of DESE PQA areas of concerns and violations will continue to increase with every moment of inaction and ignorance. A child's future is at stake here. And then I would just like to remind you that the school committee does not have on their website their educational policies and goals, which is part of the General Law, Chapter 71, Section 37 rules. So if we could please get those up so that the public can look at them. And also your meeting minutes are not on there, so we can't access them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Bunny. Next is Carrie Noseworthy, and then Jasmine Tattle. If you want to come up, please.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Noseworthy, and I reside at 95 Smith Street. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with the committee. I would just like to speak in support of funding the requested positions for special education, which total, I believe, just under $1 million. I'm told the district is in compliance. I believe we were only in compliance on the technicality that parents haven't filed complaints with DESE, which is similar to how ELL complaints happen as well, at which point technically we would be in noncompliance. Special education is mandated by both state and federal laws. When found in noncompliance, we will be ordered to pay for the positions anyway, in addition to penalties as written in federal and state regs, and possibly pay legal fees if we're sued. It's morally and fiscally responsible to fund the positions before DESE or OCR gets involved. The second thing is around safety. I don't know all the specifics of today's events because I don't work for the police department, so I'm not going to go there, but I will ask the school committee if written policy around emergency preparedness exists, and if so, where it can be found so residents can familiarize themselves with it. If it doesn't exist, I would like to request the committee make this a priority in preparation for future events, be they natural disasters or man-made. What we don't have, to my knowledge, is emergency preparedness around the special needs students, which is what I handed out to you, be they medical or special education. In the past, I've presented certain members of the district with a plan and resources to address this need, and I'm available moving forward to help with any implementation, anything that I can be helpful to you. I would like to offer my services. Emergency preparedness is not something that's done once. It's something that should be addressed consistently and frequently each year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jasmine is next, and then Joshua Klaus is next. If you want to come up, Josh.
Jasmine Tatel, 2nd Street. The Leominster Special Education Parent Advisory Council, also known as the CPAC, which was referenced wrongly as the CPAC on the 10-12 minutes, elected a new board. Co-chairs are Bonnie Budd and Maria McNamara. Vice Chair, Jasmine Tatel. Secretary, Giselle Breton. Communications Outreach, Christina Chatalian. School Committee Liaison, Michael Stassen. All of this information will be updated on our portion of the school website. Massachusetts Special Education Law, found on www.doe.mass.edu, states in Chapter 71B that CPAC is to meet regularly with school officials to participate in planning, development, and evaluation of school committee special education programs. They are to receive without charge assistance from school committee. We are already meeting and stay in constant communication with Mr. Pratt's office, but we will be reaching out to the school committee to set up regular interactions for SPED discussions. Our upcoming meetings for the CPAC will be hosting a support group next Monday, 10/23 at 7 p.m. The location will be updated on the school webpage, and a board meeting on Monday, 11/6 at the Leominster High School at 7:30.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next is Joshua, and then Charlotte, if you want to make your way up, please.
Joshua Klaus, I reside at 218 Central Street. I'm here to speak on a couple things to the school committee this evening. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the teachers that were here earlier this evening in receiving their professional status award. I hope that they are here and part of the family in Leominster for many years or decades to come. Secondly, I'd like to address the concern of our janitorial staff. Our chairman and the school committee pledged that we would know tonight some information about this. I hope to hear that the decision of bringing back janitorial staff that we've laid off is an option, and I would encourage that to be an option. And lastly, with the light of today's events, I remember having served on this committee over 10, 12 years ago, and when we were introducing this phone service and email service to parents, and I'm glad to see it work today. However, there seemed to be some overlapping and stuff that parents were confused. I've received messages and concerns. This incident was nearly in my backyard. And I'd like to thank the Public Safety Department, our superintendent doing the best he can, and of course our mayor. However, I want this school committee to know, there were some legitimate concerns of parents with bus stops, and some schools were concerned about some community stops. I myself saw a group of high school students heading down towards Eden Glen, and that was a concern. And I'd also like to express that I don't understand as a parent why there was a lockdown for our schools. My son attends Francis Drake. It's more than a mile away from the area. So I hope to hear the committee address this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Charlotte, and then Maria McNamara, please, if you go on and start heading up. And
Hi,
then
good
Michael.
afternoon. Sorry. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Wakes, 245 Water Street, and I'm here to give you some updates. I was talking to some parents on Saturday when my daughter was playing at the Leominster Lake Field, and they were explaining concerns about the cleanliness of the buildings. Johnny Appleseed, Skyview Middle School, and the high school, the rooms and stuff have not been cleaned or anything, and kids were actually asking their parents if they need to bring home a roll of toilet paper because there wasn't any at the schools. Also, another question that came up, sorry, I'm a little short. Another thing that came up was for the Winter Carnival at Skyview. Normally they have junior custodians who handle the tables and bring different tables in. Parents were concerned how that's going to go. Same as the basketball. For that as well, the junior custodians took care of that as well. The other concern that was brought up was with the junior custodians, they took care of snow removal and stuff. With this cleaning company or whatever, who's going to take care of the snow removal? And last but not least, I was also wondering that there was a question on social media that was brought to my attention. Mr. Mayor, can you please tell us where the school committee minutes or something was misplaced or something like that about you didn't vote on a specific thing, if you can clarify that? And the money that was missing for the $1 million for the SPED education, and the junior custodians could be considered for petty cash. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charlotte. Maria McNamara, and then Michael is next.
Good evening. My
Good
name is
evening.
Maria McNamara of 549 Prospect Street. I'm a parent of 2 children in the system, one with special needs, and I'm also the co-chair of the CPAC. On behalf of the CPAC, I would like to bring to light an issue that we feel is important, which is the operational flow of administration in the district. Specifically, the communication from parent to teacher, teacher to supervisor, and so on. Administrative to parent communication is paramount in sustaining a positive and thriving learning experience for all of our children. When issues arise, there needs to be direct and honest communication immediately. When services aren't being delivered, immediate notification must take place. And if there is a change to the educational standards to which the district provides, immediate notification must take place. Since the school year began, my autistic daughter has not received speech services that are written to be delivered in her IEP. This only came to light because I'm very active in her daily progression. To this day, we are still working on rectifying that situation. This example could have taken place with any student in the district, regardless of special needs or not. Please understand that I'm very appreciative to all educators, but we must improve the quality of education that our children are receiving, and that's what I'm here to fight for. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Michael's next.
Michael Sasson, 893 Main Street. I have just 2 quick things. At the last school committee meeting, a schedule for the budget process was handed out. That had an initial meeting to set procedures and priorities, as I understand it, for right after the election. On election day, 2 to possibly 4 members of this committee will be changing, taking effect January 1st. It seems a little strange to cut them out of that process. I don't intend to be bound to something I don't vote for. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, now that you are on record as being opposed to outsourcing the custodians, I'm asking if you will tonight commit to appropriating the necessary funds to bring back the junior custodians.
Thank you. Michael? And Maria, I just wanted to ask, have you been in touch with anybody, and has anybody been in touch with you?
Yes.
That's what the email and everything was about. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just wanted to close the loop on that. Okay, we'll close this portion of the meeting. We're now...
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on the agenda here. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Claire Frida. I just wanted to just give a little update, I guess. I know I've been here before to speak about the custodians back in the 80s, and I'm going back about 30 years. But when we met with custodians, and I chuckled when I saw Attorney Angelini come in because he was sitting at the table as well. So there's some longevity here. But we had issues with the custodians. They dug their heels in for quite some time. We couldn't get any movement one way or the other. It ended up where it went out to privatization, and I have to tell you, it was a long process, but we sat, 2 members of the school committee, I don't know what your policy is, but we had 2 members of the school committee that sat on the negotiating team with these custodians, trying to make some movement. It didn't work. There was stubbornness on both sides. I'll be the first to say that. But it ended up in a bad situation with privatization. It didn't work. It went on too long. It got so far past a safety point that by the time we got together, and all of us together came up with the A and B unit. That's how we solved the problem that we could have solved initially. So it went too long. Maybe there were mistakes that were made. But lessons should have been learned then, and it's worked. It's worked from what I can see for a long time. I'm just asking that the custodians that I've spoken with, I know many of them, they belong to my church, they're my neighbors, they're really hard workers. And to have the opportunity to at least present the plan that they thought that they could present to you to help solve some of the budget issues back when, maybe if you could listen to that and really see if it might be cost effective to get some of those guys back into the system. If you want to talk about privatization later, maybe that's a good way to do it, but bring these guys back now and get them back in the schools that they know, get it done faster, and get our schools back to where they should be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Blake, you are now on. Mr. Blake, where did you go? There you are. It's a presentation by Skyview Middle School, and I understand you have a...
This is not like a focus part. I was originally
That's no, I got to say, I've seen a lot of things, but I'm impressed. Will that tell you...
I'm not going to really present that. I'll talk a little bit about it at the end.
Okay. I thought it was something that was going
I know,
to weigh me and give me
bells,
my
whistles,
body
flips,
index.
Fireworks, lights, but that's not going to happen. All right, Mr. Nebel, you ready? Thank you. So usually when we give this report, we're kind of well into number crunching for PARC data or MCAS data or whatever it might be. As you know, and I'll get to in a minute, all that's embargoed for public comment, so this is, pretty much public comment, so I can't go there at all. So I'm just going to talk about the district improvement plan. These are things that I'm sure you'll hear from each school, and I'm just going to talk about it briefly to really oversimplify the objectives of the district improvement plan. Thank you. Objective 1 is curriculum. Objective 2 is assessments. Objective 3 is tiered support. And I forgot to mention, I'm not sick, but my voice sounds horrendous, so if you need me to repeat anything, please tell me. So then we look at the district improvement plan, and we develop our school improvement plan, and there should be alignment, and there is. Objective 1 for us is curriculum. And for us, we got a lot of Google-based technology last year. They were very pleased to get into the building in terms of Chromebook carts and things like that. There are things that in the building now teachers probably can't even think of not having. There's something that kids probably can't even think didn't exist. In fact, I got a new student this year who wondered why I wasn't giving him this Chromebook to go home, and he was pretty upset about it. Objective 2 is common assessments. I talk about this each and every year, but it's important. When you talk about common planning time, if you're not even assessing kids the same and really teaching the same things, you can teach in a different way. But if you're not assessing kids in a similar way and going at the same kind of pace, then it's kind of pointless to get together, because otherwise it's I do this, you do this, you do this, thank you, it's been nice, and we're off and running. So we make it a point all the time we get the departments together and meet to make sure we have common assessments. And tiered support is always tricky. It looks different in each and every school, and that's really when we look at our kids through teacher observation in whatever data that we have, and we really break the kids down into, you guys need this, you guys need this, you guys need this, and in some cases, you might really not need much of anything, so we look towards an enrichment. Okay, so I kind of talked about these a little bit, so if you delve a little bit more into objective one for us, curriculum, there's new science standards, so the idea is really to get a grade done each year, so that started last year, so my science department this year really wants to have all grades done, so I'm not going to stand in their way. That would be 3 grades in 2 years. We got a new curriculum product called Collections last year, so last time was the first time through, and now we really feel like we're refining it. Completed curriculum for general music. It's something we keep working on each year, and having an engaging curriculum through proficiency with Google. One of the great things about Google's our teachers have really got into is instead of having the curriculum kind of be in like a dusty binder in everybody's room, it's now in a shared document, which seems just to make sense, and why wouldn't you do that before? But we weren't really at the state of technology in the building where we could. So now we're having things like team drives where teachers share their assessments. I had science teachers in for a meeting, and when we set up a team drive, they're like, oh, this is great. We can share our labs a lot easier. So it's really exciting. It's really broken the mold. If you think of where teaching was, I can think when I was a brand new teacher and went to share something, and it was kind of like, go back to your classroom and leave me alone. It's much different now, and it's really exciting. Objective 2, we continue with our common assessments in all grade level departments. We get together monthly, like I mentioned. Objective 3 is social emotional learning. The first professional development day before school really started with kids. We got together and had professional development and social emotional learning. Our enrichment is Project Lead the Way, is our main engineering enrichment that we have available for all kids at all grade, not for all kids, but at all grade levels. And we continue with our tiered academic supports for all kids. All right, so this is what I mentioned before. I usually have a bunch of slides on MCAS data. We just started to get into that today. We're not allowed for public comment, so considering you're a school committee and I'm a principal and there's a microphone, I'm not going to go there. Kind of results of alignments with the district improvement plan. In English, if you were thinking about tiered supports, what does that really look like? We still do have a reading program. So we got 3 sections in grade 6 and 7 and 2 sections in grade 8 of reading, where we currently enroll 96 students. Well, that might not seem like a lot. I know last year when we looked at our 8th grade kids, we didn't have trouble fielding our reading classes, but that pool of what shrunk a lot down, and that was due to the hard work of a lot of our teachers. So we were pretty excited that when we looked at our map data and we took away kind of like kids learning disabilities and looked at like kids who were just learning English, we were pretty close to grade level with a huge majority of our students. Math during the school day, we utilize Alex as an intervention support. So for parents, that's software that we have in the building that kids can use. We always use that for our math cafe, which we kind of kick off like after Thanksgiving and in the winter months, seemingly when fall activities close and before baseball and softball and all those things start in the spring. So parents, in theory, have a little bit more time. We annually accumulate over 500 additional hours of instruction on Saturday mornings for kids who need it. So that's pretty exciting. We've found annually if kids attend 3 sessions, we have anywhere from 11 to 27% increase in their benchmark assessments. Best way to think about it is the more often they're there, the better they do. We find that each and every year. In terms of our tiered support, this is maybe a little different way to think of one. We have a parent liaison in the building now, which is from utilization of Title I funds. So if you're a parent and maybe you speak a different language, you have a resource in the building that you feel comfortable going to, and she works with all the staff throughout the building. So that's an exciting resource to have, and it's exciting for the families. Now, have I given them a survey to say, yes, Mr. Blake, this is super exciting? No. If you were here in the main office, when you would see families come in and ask for Miss Lyons or Susanna, you would see how much easier it creates a great partnership with the families, and I'm internally thankful for that. We've had this for years, and I talk about it each and every year. We have an anonymous alert system. regardless of what you think about kids and electronics, they have them. And kids don't always feel comfortable raising their hand, say, can I leave class? I need to go tell Mr. Niebel about something that just happened to me. I'll be right back. Some kids can do that. I feel confident that kids have an adult in the building. They feel comfortable talking, but there's sometimes they're just kind of not sure, who should I talk to? Do I really talk to somebody? Yeah, I don't know what to do. So Anonymous Alerts is an app that kids have on their phone where they can quite literally log in and pick who they want to send a report to. We train the kids at least twice a year. They need a little reminder in the training so our reports aren't like, on a bus, a kid said something mean to me. That's helpful, but if we don't know the bus, the kid, the bus number, things like that, the report isn't as helpful as it could be. Kids are pretty savvy after they have some reminders of what to do. They can take snapshots or screenshots, of conversations. I'll put conversations in quotes that they've had with kids online and send them right to us. We had over 150 alerts during the last school year. We've already had 10 alerts for this school year. I'd like to remind you guys every time I get together for this, that's 150 alerts last year that I might never have received unless we had this system. So I think it's a great system, one we've advocated for, and I'm glad we keep having each and every year. My voice okay? I feel like I'm drowning people to sleep. School district initiatives update. Edgenuity. World language is going to be offered again via the Edgenuity learning platform. We're going to continue again with 5 sections of online foreign language with 5 language choices. We plan on kicking that off on November 1st. Currently, we just got posted last week, the posting for an Edgenuity tutor. So I put November 1st, but I almost put just to give me a little space is we're just starting to interview people this week. I don't want to send out a letter to kids and say, hey, which language would you like? And then say, oh, maybe just give me a couple weeks. I want to make sure we get the right person in place. Then we'll get letters out to families from any of the kids that will be invited into foreign language have taken a foreign language before. The promotion retention policy, that's been in effect really for 2 school years, even though it got into place really kind of late, not the past school year, but the one before. So for this current school year, we had 3 students who passed their summer school courses, no problem, and they moved on to the next grade. This happened last year as well. A number of students move out when they get the final bad news, and I like to remind people the bad news is often a result of talking to kids after 2nd term and after 3rd term and after 4th term, so there's really no surprises. So we had 4 kids who were supposed to take a summer school class, but they moved into another district. We have 8 students who were promoted to the next grade level, but taking a class from a previous grade level. The reasons for that vary. Kids weren't here, parents didn't want to make the commitment. I can go on and on and on for the reasons. So you might have a 7th grader who was moved up to 8th grade, and instead of specials, they're taking a previous year's math level course. We had 3 students retained, 2 were 8th graders, and we had 1 student promoted to Leominster High School due to extenuating circumstances. I certainly don't want to get into that on the microphone, but if I spoke with you in person, I think within about 5 seconds, he probably would have said, yes, I understand, and that was a wise choice for that student in that particular situation. Site Council, one of our goals at the end of last year, after meeting throughout the year, was to make the school website more, I'm going to say, easily accessible to parents on a mobile device. So our culminating project was to make basically a video, because that's how things are done these days, are videos. It took me a long time to figure out, unless I had an iPhone that connected with a Mac, that screencast just wasn't going to happen, quite simply. So we're ordered it. We're going to have an iMac basically for the building that we could use for various reasons. As soon as that comes in, we're going to send that video out to families. I hope as a school committee you don't think, oh my goodness, what do you mean our school website isn't the most fantastic thing? When you go on a desktop, it's intuitive, it's easy to follow. The people who put school blocks together made a change at the end of last year. So instead of on your phone having 2 columns of things, because when you try to click on those 2 columns with your finger, you're getting all sorts of things. They changed to 1. So it's much easier. But if I could provide families a video of, hey, if you wanted to find this, watch what I do, it'd be so much easier. You're trying to find out when your kid's club meets. Watch what I do. Scroll, click, click, click. And I think it's just going to start moving that much quicker. It's still good on a mobile device. It's designed for a mobile device. But it's like anything else in life. Once you see it, then it's like, oh, I got it. And when you're on a desktop, it's really easy. This is hopefully going to click and go. I talked to you about VIEWpoint last year, and if you got the Sentinel and Enterprise, just last week we were, as I like to say, when I was a principal in Medford, we used to brag of who got their newspaper articles above the fold and who got them below. So this one was above the fold, so I was kind of pleased. So Doug, can you click on that link? And we're not going to read the article because it's going to say the kid is great, Mr. Blake is okay, and so on and so forth. But I would really like you to listen to the video and not that ad, which is probably going to have to play. Because when you talk about personalized learning and giving kids choices in their learning, please listen to what this kid says, because this was not scripted in the least, and I just cross my fingers this plays. It's going to have an ad, I knew it would. Oh, you know what? Doug, while the ad is playing, I know. Hey, Doug, could you open that door without hitting your head and turn on the two, just hit pause. I'm giving him so many directions. Here, I'll do it. Here, why don't you hit?
Their books and other supplies that they need at home.
Now just go back because it doesn't go.
Access their books and other supplies that they
Squeeze it over.
This app is an app for the school that can help kids access their books and other supplies that they need at home. So like on home from their phone.
So like any page, any book they could go.
Yeah. I've added a bunch of stuff to the app, like links to like websites like Quizlet, which we use in class, and I've added books, like PDFs of the books we read in school, so they can flip to the page every day, they can just use it.
That is cool. So why do you want to make that?
It's part of the VIEWpoint thing we're doing at Skyview. So each person has to make a project for the school or like that they're interested in, and you can do that on half days and testing days. And so I thought it would be fun last year to make an app, and I wanted to do something that could benefit the school in some way, so I decided to do an app for the kids at Skyview.
So how long did it take you to do this? Just the whole school year?
Every half day we got to work on it, so I had like 3 hours every half day to work on it. So last year I almost finished the app during the course of the year, and then I finished it up this summer.
So had you made any other apps before? Was this your first one?
My first one.
What made you want to make it?
Actually, on the PowerPoint or present we were looking at, there was a thing that said technology, and then I thought of like, I kind of thought of my phone because I was thinking like, hey, what if I do something that I can put on my phone? And then I thought, what if I just make an app for the school or something like that? Yeah.
So what, like, was there a kind of program that you use, like, how do you go about doing this?
So there's this app, there's this like website, and then it allows you to add stuff to make the app. So you can like customize the app, and then like you can figure out what you want on it. You can like add stuff to the app, and then you can like make the pictures on it. You can like add different categories to it, and add website stuff. So it was really easy, and it worked pretty well. And so I used that.
So,
Good job. I promise we've seen almost everything, so we don't.
there you go. So, a couple of things to think about while you were listening to that. Sometimes we think about kids and their attention spans, or sometimes you think about the principal and his attention span. And this kid did this for 3 hours every day on his own. No one made him do it. He was given a choice. What do you want to do? If I got some parents over here, they probably know what I'm talking about because their kids are going through this now. It was his choice. No one made him do this. He wanted to do this, but he was given the time to do it. And time is really our most precious resource in our lives a lot of times, that we don't have the time to do all the things we want to do. And we took our half days and said, we're not really proud of them. What can we do? And we're giving kids a choice to pick, what do you want to learn about it? There's adults that work with kids. It's like about a 15-to-1 ratio. And we're there to support them. We're not there to do it. There's no grades. There's no grading. It's just, what do you want to learn? One of the most exciting things for me in this project was not only seeing things like this, but I can remember I had a teacher that had a family crisis, and it was on a VIEWpoint day. And I called and I was speaking with the teacher, and I was like, oh yeah, that's awful, get out of here. No, she said, I'm not missing one of these days. I'm going to get here, I'm going to rearrange my things, and I'm going to be gone in the afternoon when you're doing all your important principal things, but I am not missing this day with these kids on this day. And that was a teacher about 6 months from retirement. So I feel good about this. I feel like we've kind of, I hate to say stumbled on it because there was a lot of planning. I know I've been at conferences with Jim, and I was recently just at a PD where I talked about this briefly, and other districts and other schools where, could you tell me more about this? What do you mean? What are you doing? Send me the link. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if parents, when it gets down to the bitter end, are super, super excited about it, but I just want them to think, when else would you kids have the opportunity to do such a thing? So if you ever want to check it out on your own, up on our website, the desktop version is right there. Just click on VIEWpoint. All the materials that kids need are right there. They're all Google-based. A parent can click on them. A teacher can click on them. Kids can click on them. It's just right there. It's totally transparent. And VIEWpoint really leads to that personalized learning where we're talking about. Kids pick what they want to learn and how they share it. We don't do school in half days. For year 2, our kind of way that we want to kick it up a notch was having really exemplary projects presented in some ways to the kids. And I don't mean like stick 900 kids in a place and have them look at a project, but take the projects, have them kind of like in maybe like a room like this, and take the kids around like a gallery walk. So hint, 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 in June, if you get a little invite from someone over here and you want to check out what some kids to do, it would be great to have you. 21st Century is something that's new to the building this year. Some parents might not even know about it yet because we haven't totally kicked it out in full steam ahead, but it's a new program for Skyview students. Samoset's already had this. We just began last week with 32 targeted students enrolled. Our goal was 30, so we met that, and our max is 40. We get 7 teachers here. Kids work on their homework for an hour, and then they have followed by an enrichment with a math tint. Because if you just make it math class, the kids might not be excited to come for 2.5 hours, but if you come with an activity that's got some math in it, that'll be fantastic. It's usually my own kids. So students are here at Skyview literally until 5 o'clock. And we're excited also for the possibility of having 21st Century in the summer for some of those kids that are in our summer program for classes where they didn't do well, of having some additional support to get through the classes. I figured I would bring up some of these things before I was asked, if that's okay, about how we've had to modify some things based on the current state of our budget here in Leominster. Mentioned before, foreign language. We're going to start online foreign language through Ingenuity. My goal is November 1st, so as long as we got a suitable staff person. We really got the funding and the posting for it last week, so I appreciate everybody who's made that happen. Band and chorus, both will be after school for the current school year. Chorus has started, and band is planned to start for the current school week on Thursdays after school, from basically after school until 5 o'clock. Class sizes, I was actually telling a parent who told me I was wrong that, there's been changes with the academic staff and class sizes are huge. I'm here to say again publicly, there's actually been no changes with our academic staff, math, science, social studies, things like that. The main changes are with specialist staff. So with no art or health, the remaining specialist teachers have to take on those kids. Now, is every class up to 33 students? No. Does some get that high? Yes, they do. Band and chorus are now after school and not during the school day because we have one less music teacher. Our workshop staff, interventions, and common plannings have been affected by the lack of foreign language, yet this has been rectified with the addition of a new staff person, so we're going to be kind of for Skyview teachers in our regular kind of mode of being able to have our common planning as we've always been used to it, and dealing with interventions the way that we've dealt with it for the past couple of years soon. I'm looking ahead to FY 2019. I imagine coming here and you could pretty much print this out and it's going to be what I'm going to say again later on. We miss our dean, our art teacher, health teacher, reading teacher. I've said it for years, we need additional guidance staff. And we've had other parents, and I'm sure Ned would say the same thing, about having sufficient special education staff as advocated by Mr. Pratt. Those will be things that will be talked about in the future. Miscellaneous, maybe to change on a little bit of a note, and then, I'm going to talk about that thing right there. I was at a PD for the past couple of days, last Thursday and Friday, and it's called Changemaker. And if anybody's heard of United Way Youth Venture, it's like that, but you kick it up like 3 notches. So I went along with 4 teachers. I don't like to be out of the building. That's not because I'm controlling. I just think it's something I should be here. I was pretty excited about the prospect of bringing this professional development back to my staff. So I put up some questions. Is for this Changemaker PD, it's how can we embed the skill of change making into our standard curriculum? If anybody has seen those Facebook videos of like, hey, how are kids going to be prepared for tomorrow? The jobs that they will have don't even exist yet. It's that kind of mindset of how do you get kids ready for job X when job X doesn't even exist? Can we teach our kids how to be social entrepreneurs within our standard curriculum? So we're still going to teach what we're supposed to teach, but can you take really with the helping hand of an expert teacher and kind of have a little different mindset so the examples you might give kids are to real social issues that the kids encounter on a daily basis, and it's a pretty exciting concept. Is there a better way to teach empathy as an underlying character trait within our standard curriculum? You try to think sometimes when you don't get along with people, it's kind of funny how you maybe get along with them a little bit more if you've ever sat down and spoke with that person. So it's an interesting, it's a great PD, and I look forward to maybe next year giving you a little bit more details, but United Way, Youth Venture, and VIEWpoint are really the succeeds for this mindset shifts within our building. And it's something that's pretty exciting. I think when we bring it to kids, they're going to be psyched. And lastly, I don't think there's too much else, Doug. Is there even like at the end? No. I wanted to bring up this robot thing because it was something that was pretty cool. We have a student that I know he wishes he could be in school each and every single day, but he's missed hundreds and hundreds of days throughout his academic career. So we made the decision this year, if the student is unable to come to school, how can that student still be a part of school? Especially as the student is getting older and time with his peers, we don't want it to be forgotten. So we have this. So the best way to look at this thing is it's like a roaming iPad on wheels, where if the student can't come to school, he can be at home and control it with a tablet. It's got a screen, which none of you can see, in the front that shows exactly what's going on in the classroom. It's got speakers and video. It can interact with the class. It can interact with the kids. It can ask questions. There's like a light that goes on, so the teacher can be like, oh, you have a question, and look at the tablet, and they can interact. So we were able to sit down with the family this summer and say, I think we've got a solution if your kid can't come to school, and this was it. Now, before you ask, how's it gone? The most exciting part is the kid's been able to be in school, which is heartwarming. He hasn't missed the hundreds of days. He's missed a few, but he hasn't missed it yet. So if you say, what's this like on a daily basis? I can't tell you yet, and I hope I never have to tell you. I am just thankful that we're able to use the resources that we have available to us to bring a tool like this to us, because when you start thinking about it, it's pretty crazy that a kid could pretty much partake in class, still be with his peers, still get the curriculum, and still feel like he's a part of things, even if he can't come to school. So that's all. I thank you for your time, and I'll be more than happy to take questions.
Anyone have any questions from the school committee, starting with Nona?
Tim,
Yeah.
I have just a couple of questions. One, the person that is taking a previous grade math.
Yep.
So I'm going to assume it's like a 7th grade math, but he's in 8th grade.
Correct.
How is he going to get 8th grade math?
They'll
or
take
is he
eight-
doubling math?
Double up.
Double up math, okay. Concerned on how that's working out, but hey, we'll find out in June.
Mm-hmm.
The foreign language, those that are signing up for that, what are they giving up to be able to take foreign language?
So we call it our workshop class. So during our workshop time, it's either you need help with something or we give you an enrichment. Foreign language would be one of those enrichments. So in the past, like a lot of times in the beginning of the summer, we would target our students through teacher recommendation and MAP scores for reading, and we would send letters out. So you might get a letter saying, hey, was your kid like X, Y, or Z? Tell me soon, so we can plan for it for the upcoming year. So we can use the same process. We've done it enough that we can start sending letters out to families saying, would you like to be a part of this, yes or no?
Okay, then my last question is geared on, I know you'd have one period that on Monday a child would do, last year would do band and, maybe Monday and Wednesday, and then on Tuesday and Thursday, they'd have art, or, something like that. How, knowing that we don't have art, we don't have, the band and the chorus are gonna be after school, what is that block doing in place of a day of music, a day of art?
So if I don't explain this well, tell me to do it again, because we've been doing it for years, so for me, it's like, it's real quick. So kids have 6 periods a day, so you have 4 core academics, that workshop block we just talked about, and then specials, okay? When the kids go to specials, it's for, last year it was like 25 days at a time. This year it's more like 30-something. So let's say if you go to PE. So we work on a 6-day cycle. In previous years, which what you mentioned, day 1 and day 2, instead of walking to gym, you would walk to band. Okay? So this year, with band not being during school, you don't ever leave the gym. You're just staying in gym. So even in previous years, when we made, if there was 30 kids in gym, there was always 30 kids in gym. Just the days the kids went to band, there would be less when those kids went to band. So not having them during the school day just means the kids don't go a different place. They go where they're supposed to go. You can ask me to explain it again.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just, why we lost that, why we,
So in previous years, we had 2 music teachers. So basically the idea was if, can you see Ronnie? Go ahead. Ronnie now teaches chorus, okay? So we're both music teachers, and we teach general music. So on some days, I would have all the kids, and Mr. Hool would be teaching chorus. So I have all the kids, because he's over there with the chorus kids that came from all the different classes. And then on other days, he would take over the general music class, where I actually used to play the saxophone once upon a time. I would go teach instrumental music, and he's got the general music class. So at Skyview, that's how it worked basically with our numbers, so we could still give the kids all their specials and do band and chorus.
Okay, thank you.
Wendy?
I would like to know, have you or are you going to keep track to see what moving this to after school has done to participation in band and chorus? Because my fear is moving it is going to exclude a lot of kids who can't stay after school.
I mean, it'll be easy to track. We'll just look at previous years where we look at our enrollment, and then we'll start looking who's able after school. I'm going to tell you what I've told parents, band boosters, anybody. This is not how we want it. It's not how I know the superintendent wants it. It's not how teachers want it. It's not how we want it. This is forced choice, and it's not a lot of fun. Much rather have it the way that we've always had it. So I don't want to get here and get into blame this or blame that. I'm happy we're able to do it now. And yeah, it'll be easy to track. I could come back next year and easily say, hey, we had this many kids on average after school, and the year before was this many.
Yeah, as soon as that's available, I'd like to know what it has done to participation.
I think you would just need to probably wait to, give it some time to. If we look at it the first Thursday, what is it like? Does it go up or down or up?
Yeah, because the middle school band and chorus are feeder programs for the high school, so any impact here is going to have a longer lasting effect.
Next question, anybody else? Susan, and then Ron.
Tim, I just wanted to thank you for giving us the highlights of your modifications, because that certainly was going to come up as a question. And I do appreciate the hard work of maintaining your academic staff to the best of your ability. Question with the principal of Samoset not here. I know you always worked together with Samoset in terms of your curriculum. Are you working with someone there?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah, we have leadership team meetings, so we get along as a cohesive whole. So whoever is helping out, it's doing the same thing over and over again, and we share. It's hard to tell kids to share and not practice what you preach.
Okay, so even though Colleen's not there, the link is not broken. You feel like you're...
So example, like Mr. Fadden was here before, and I know him. He used to work with us too. So he's an English teacher over at Samoset. So with some of our Google-based stuff, for lack of a better term, shared it with him. He sent a message right back to me. hey, could you also share it with this person and this person and this person? And actually using Google-based technology, it's a lot easier.
Ron?
Yeah, I was just wondering, the online foreign language, 5 language choice, what are the 5 language choices?
So we got,
How many people are going for each language?
well, that I'll be able to tell you. So we got Spanish, German, Latin, Mandarin, and French. Did I get the 5? Thank you. So I got 25 kids basically in a class to tell you the makeup of, it's 10 French. It changes each and every year. I know I mentioned this before, and I'm glad we've moved towards this model. No matter the district, no matter the second language choice, it's nearly impossible to have a full-time teacher teach that second language. So we might have 10 kids take Spanish, might have 5 kids take French, 4 kids take Latin, 3 kids take German. It changes each and every year. But you can never have another teacher just to teach 10 French and 5 Latin and 2 German.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Good job.
I guess you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to now move on to our agenda. What we're going to do is we're going to move down to talk about the custodians. Then we're going to go back to executive session, and then we'll come back into regular session to finish off items, communication. Well, do you want to do that first? Do you have anything
Sure,
to report? Go
I can
ahead.
do the
communications and
superintendent's report.
superintendent's report.
There are no communications to the school committee this evening, but quickly from the superintendent's report perspective, we had some comments this evening, but shelter-in-place procedures were implemented in the Leominster schools soon after noon today based on reported police action in the vicinity of Eden Glen Street and Lancaster Street. Based on the information that we received at the time of the incident, the decision was made to implement the shelter-in-place procedures to keep students and staff safe. Communications were sent to parents and district staff to keep them informed, and after consultation with the police chief, the shelter-in-place was lifted. Open houses this week, Pre-Street Kindergarten Center this Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30, and Bennett and Samoset Preschools on Thursday, October 19th, same time, 5:30 to 7:30. There was information that was provided to us. We went to a session up at Neshoba Technical High School last Thursday. David Fiandacker, myself, and a couple of staff members. And we're pleased to announce that the Center for Technical Education Innovation did receive a Skills Capital grant. I believe the Sentinel covered that with some photography. And right now, based on the information provided us today, it looks like we received the full amount of the grant in the amount of $492,823. So that'll be a significant amount of money to add to the CTEI program. Just as a heads up to parents, Tim alluded to it in his report, but MCAS results are being released this week for the next generation MCAS. You are going to find some changes in the reporting, much more comprehensive changes. Actually, the reporting looks pretty good based upon the preliminary information that we've received. There will also be some letters to parents as well as some frequently asked question sheets. So as soon as those are stabilized by the department, we'll get those up on the website. Or you can check the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education website for whatever information or questions that you might have. But I guess the most important thing is that because this is the first iteration of the next generation MCAS, we're not going to see any accountability ratings this particular year. So just be aware of that and not be waiting on Wednesday to see what the accountability ratings will be, because they will not be released in this particular round of testing from spring of 2017. And just for the record, all of the information that the school committee had asked me to respond to regarding the comments from the teachers union. That report went to the school committee members over the weekend. Looking ahead, because we don't have another school committee meeting until November 6th, we have a district professional development day all day on election day, which is Tuesday, November 7th. Just so look ahead and place that into your calendar. And then following that is the Veterans Day holiday on Friday, November 10th. But just so that people are aware, because we had a bunch of questions that came in. Please pay attention to your school calendars. I'll continue to make announcements during the superintendent's report, but I know it gets difficult with childcare, et cetera, if you suddenly have a half day or a full PD day that you're not aware of. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move now down to item six, update on custodial services. As you remember, at the last meeting, I took it upon myself. I volunteered for the committee to tour the schools. I went to as many as I could. Went back to some of the other schools. It's a very sort of complicated situation. The company was hired very late in the season. We know that. Took a tour with some of the buildings with the owner. The owner was as helpful as he could be and trying to, living off business cards. If there are any issues, contact me. But the issue, as I sent you a copy of the complaint that was issued by the union to the Department of Labor, is a little bit more concerning. I've been an arbitrator and a mediator serving with the Joint Labor Management Committee for 17 years now, and I've probably done arbitration cases or mediation with every large size, small size city in the state. And so my concern personally, more than anything, is right now is what happens to that complaint, because they did issue a complaint, and the hearing officer listed, as you saw, a number of recommendations. One of which was mandatory, I think she emphasized, mandatory mediation for both parties to get together and mediate this. The other piece of this, I'm not the attorney for the city, I'm not the attorney for the school department, I'm not the special attorney that the school department hired for this. So that's my disclosure. However, there are some risks associated with it, and I think I put that in my email, is that we could lose, and they could restore the custodians back to their positions with salary retroactive back, correct? Attorney Angelini, I know you're not representing us on that issue, but right, I mean, in the past. And so they could require us to restore the positions and retroactive back to the date they were laid off. So my recommendation to the committee, hoping that we can make this recommendation to the superintendent, because it's really his responsibility, is to hire back the custodians, get them back. Now, I said another important piece here is the mandatory mediation. That's really critical, because there are issues and as I learned so much more about this than I knew at the very beginning, because just very complicated. So what I did learn is there's issues on both sides, and I think that's, and I'm not speaking for the hearings officer, but I think that's why the hearings officer suggested, or didn't suggest, but stated mandatory mediation, because there are issues on both sides. So we would, I don't believe we have a signed contract with the new company, certainly not throwing the new company under the bus. It makes no sense to do that. I don't certainly want to bring on another lawsuit, but I think we should bring, my recommendation would be to bring back the custodians, immediately enter into that mediation and get a list of issues on both sides. I'd be willing to participate. I've done this in the past. I'm trained to do it. I don't mind if it's going to help. But if not, that's fine. We can get another mediator, or even I would help with another mediator. I don't have an issue with that. I think I'm close enough to the issues to see where we agree and where we don't, and see if we can't get some agreement on those issues. And the contract for the custodians ends in 2018. Mm-hmm. So it's incumbent upon everyone in the process to not put this off, but to immediately start this with a scheduled list of mediation sessions. and then continue on with, trying to reach an agreement with them for a new contract. So that's going to require everyone to sort of participate, everybody to get involved, everyone to sharpen their pencil, everyone to sort of look at what some of the issues were in the past, what some of the issues are by administration that could have come from this. And that, in a nutshell, in under 2 minutes, is my recommendation. But again, I'm one member of an entire committee, and so entertain some thoughts and ideas and suggestions.
So my probably only, well, probably not only, but one of my major concerns is where is the funding coming for this? Because I think one of the reasons why the custodial was outsourced was an attempt to save the district money, and felt that, it was better to keep teachers in front of the classroom, and not that they didn't have a valuable service to the district, but that's where we could make some cost cuts.
Absolutely.
So,
And
so that's my
right.
worry.
And so I always,
I don't want to hire them
I understand, but
lay off teachers.
anytime I see the words mandatory mediation, or it gets to the Department of Labor and it gets to that hearings officer, and the hearings officer issues a complaint, I'm just telling you on my end, nothing to do with the school department. When, those sorts of things, and we at the Joint Labor Management Commission for the state use a little bit of a different process, but we're in the same sort of office. So oftentimes what happens, and I'm just telling you my own experience, is it's basically a hint to sit down and see if you can't negotiate this out. And it becomes you get to that position, I think that we're in it, which is risk, managing the risk. And so while we're talking about, I think Glenn had said at the last meeting, the real savings kicks in the following years. And that's, I think that's what we're really going to have to sort of work with the union on both ends, is getting to some cost savings, which they've offered, and we may need more and whatever happens. But there is a risk that the school committee, that's why I sent you that copy of, because I wanted you to read it, because the school committee's name is all over it. Yep. If you noticed, the school committee, it says school committee. We're the bargaining authority for the school department. That's our job. And so now I'm just making you aware, the risk is that in the complaint process, in the process of complaint is issued, when it makes it to the next step or the final step, there's a risk that they could say, you have to reinstate him and you have to pay him retroactive, you have to pay him back pay. So I'm just trying to, all I'm trying to do is give you all of the solutions. So managing this whole issue out, it could be that in the end, they find no cause, that we in fact did impact bargain with them. They could find us at no fault at all. I'm just putting you, so nobody's surprised at the end of the process. Sure. That's why I'm recommending, I think, from reading the decision, from my own personal opinion, reading the decision, the hearings officer is sort of hinting to us. Right.
So again, I mean, I get that, and I, understand that completely, and I'm not necessarily, opposed. We have some wonderful junior custodians who have worked really hard at keeping our buildings in really great shape, and certainly have made a, impact in their schools. But so I just, given our current budget,
yes.
We
So
don't have
I didn't
money
answer that
for
part.
So that, I mean,
what we did last year, if you remember, at the end of the year, when we had a deficit, we had to figure out what that deficit was, but you've got to close out the year to do that. That doesn't happen at the end of June. It goes several weeks into the July. So you wait to find out what that deficit might be. The city would have to pick up, because obviously the school department doesn't. But again, if we're in a situation where at the end this cost us $500,000, I would much rather be dealing with this now at this junction. And again, we could, the school department could win this, and that takes care of that, but it doesn't take care of the issue of the cleaning. We're another 2 weeks into the process. I know the owner's trying, and I know all of that, but I've spent 2 weeks solid on this, and I'm just providing you with an opinion. Anybody could be on any other page. I'm just sharing you my opinion after getting knee-deep in this.
I don't disagree with you. I just want to make sure that, we're not going to be forced to do something right now because we don't have the extra, funds for that. So as long as
I think this is, and I'm just telling you on my end, this is, I think, the best recommendation. And that I can give you based on everything I've found in the
certainly have a
last.
lot of experience with this.
I do, but I don't want you to just take my word and say, you're going to lose. It's not, the hearing officer didn't say that. We haven't had that next step in the process. But there is some risk to manage it. It could end up being very costly. So that's where the mandatory mediation comes into place, where I say, you bring them back, let's get these schools cleaned up, and immediately begin in that process. Because, everyone has to give a little. That's what the mediator's saying, in my opinion, based on working with other, based on the things that I've suggested to other people in the process. It can't be one way. You got to sit down. There are some issues on both sides. You got to work these out. And I was trained by Professor Dunlop, who always believed that there's always a solution, and it never should go to arbitration or reach the last step in the process. And that's my belief. It should never reach that point. It should be worked out. Wendy, Nona, and then Suzanne.
So I agree that we really should be getting our junior custodians back, so I think that's a great suggestion, but I don't feel like Eileen's question was answered. Is there help coming to fund this so that we're not now partway through the year looking at having to make staffing cuts in the classroom? So I think that was Eileen's question, but I don't feel like there was a clear answer. I think your suggestion to bring them back is good, but is there funding help coming?
I think I answered the question.
I don't.
The question is no programs, nothing will be cut.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, because I don't know what's left, I don't know from this overlap what's left. I don't know what that amount might be. I heard from the Glenn last time that it's around $150,000, Glenn. That's what it was. I don't know what that amount is in the overlap.
Okay.
Because I don't know
I
how
just wanted
much
it clear
more.
because it kind of went back and forth.
Right,
But I think
because
that the suggestion to bring them back is good.
Somebody might not be able to start next week or the following week. I don't know what the schedules are. These people may have taken on other work. Maybe they have to give 2 weeks' notice. I don't know. But there won't be any programs cut.
Okay.
Anything cut from the school department as a
Okay.
result of this. I don't know that, there might not be a certain line item here that can be transferred over at the very end of the year after school closes. That might not be shifted over. I don't know any of that. What I do know is what I'm sharing with you tonight.
Okay,
But
so there will be no impact now.
cuts in programs. It affects, we're not taking any money
And
from
we're going to ask them back
anywhere
as
else.
soon as possible, is what you're saying.
Right. We don't know where, but it's not coming from any other line item in the,
All right, thank you.
in the budget. Nona.
I too am also glad to see that we're going to ask the junior custodians to come back. I was opposed to the outsourcing, so I think this is the right move to make. And I had heard, had we not gone this route, that we were also going to have to pay an additional amount to have snow shoveling done. We'd have to hire people to come in and do snow shoveling where our junior custodians had done it in the past. So I think we're going to end up saving that money that we would have had to spend this year to deal with the shoveling.
Okay. And then Suzanne.
The way I look at it, it's a service we're paying for in the district. If the service isn't optimal, why are we paying for it? I don't think you can question, well, the money has to be there. And initially we went out because we thought it was going to be cheaper. Well, it could be cheaper, but it's not our expectations. So I don't think, we should be bickering about the money. I think we need to do the right thing and get our buildings cleaned up. And, that's my personal opinion.
I wasn't trying
But
to
my other
bicker.
concern too is that we were told that impact bargaining took place with the custodial union. I asked that question before we put that vote out, and we were told yes. So again, decisions are made based on information provided, and if that information is not accurate,
No, absolutely.
so I just wanted to put it out there.
No,
Okay,
you're
other
absolutely
questions? Okay, if not, I think this is a recommendation to the superintendent from the school committee, and somebody would need to make a motion. I've discussed this with the superintendent already. He was comfortable with it, so long as, we address those sort of issues on funding issues, but address that. Again, I can't stress enough, the issue of mandatory mediation, which means all parties need to come to the table, immediately to begin to work on any of the issues that are out there, which means
So-
the superintendent will have to prepare a list of issues, and the same with the union, and they need to start working on those right away. In the meantime, so, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
There's a
that we
motion
add-
by Wendy, is there a second?
second.
A second by Nona?
I make a motion that we
The motion is
ask back the junior custodians as soon as possible.
Right, and for the superintendent to have a conversation with the cleaning company that we... Correct. All right, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Those opposed? Okay, thank you. We're going to now move on to... is there a finance... minutes of the meeting? Do we have a minutes to the meeting? Do we have a motion to approve the last minutes to the last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 2nd meeting.
Okay,
I'll
there's a
second.
motion and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Wait, discussion.
Discussion, I'm sorry.
Okay, page 6, toward the top,
Yes.
Suzanne Kohler questioned whether grade 6 students could be charged to ride the bus. Glenn Prattle will seek a legal opinion. That was not an accurate statement, so I'd like that stricken.
Wait, which one? I'm sorry. I couldn't hear.
Okay.
So what? Speak into the microphone and then we can hear. That's fine.
Okay,
It just echoes in here, that's all.
page 6. Page 6, I questioned whether grade 6 students could be charged to ride the bus. Oh, I don't know.
There you go.
Okay. I questioned whether grade 6 students could be charged to ride the bus. Glenn Prattle will seek a legal opinion. That question was totally taken out of context, so either strike it or whatever.
Okay. You could just strike the question.
Proposed when the transportation
Yes.
subcommittee came before us, they were going to charge grade 6 transportation fees. I questioned at that time whether they could charge because the law mandated transporting K through 6 students. So I questioned whether they could arbitrarily charge one class and not the
Yep.
group.
Okay.
So the answer
So we're striking
is
the question.
strike it and
It was some confusion, so as a result, we'll just
it
strike the
was
question.
taken out of context.
Okay, anything else under errors or omissions? If not, all in favor? Those opposed? And now, anything on the policy subcommittee minutes for September 18th?
No, we didn't meet.
Okay, you didn't meet, so we can't approve the minutes. Anything on the finance?
No,
We could approve the minutes, but we didn't meet for.
these are the minutes from our last meeting.
Okay.
so-
And you're ready to approve those?
Ready to approve the minutes.
Yes. yeah.
So go ahead and make a recommendation that we
Um,
approve.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from our September 18th meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Anything on the finance subcommittee tonight? Anything on the policy subcommittee tonight?
No, we didn't meet tonight.
Okay. So we are going to go into executive session,
Yes, I'd like to make a
and we will
motion-
not return. At first, I thought we would return, we will not return.
I'd like to make a motion to go enter executive session for the purpose of strategy and negotiations with non-union personnel, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the school committee.
Okay, and we will not, again,
We will
be
not be
returning
returning.
back in the regular session. This is a yay and nay, starting with Mr. Hool.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay?
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, we're in executive session. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jane, for filming us. We appreciate it from LTV.